I was recently asked why Terracott teams are so hard to beat. The reason for this is because of Whimsicott's just great team support and Trachion's immense offensive pressure. Trachion gets the ability justified, allowing its attack to go up a stage every time it is hit by a dark type move. Furthermore, Whimsicott gets a scarcely distributed move called Beat Up, which is a dark type move that can target Trachion and hit one time for however many Pokemon that you still have that haven't fainted. Uh, and then that means that if you lead with Terracott, then you can give Trachion a +4 boost, like just from the start of the battle before they even use an attack. They can already have +4. In addition, Whimsicott gets the ability Prankster and two support moves which I think are vital to a Terracott team. The move Tailwind and Encore. With Tailwind, Trachion's already solid speed hits incredible levels, and it also helps the rest of the team as well, depending on how fast your team is. And also, the reason Encore is vital to this kind of team, and is my personal favorite move to abuse with Terracott, is because Terracott becomes an offensive powerhouse that puts a lot of offensive pressure on your opponent's Pokemon. And naturally, most people would respond with defensive tactics like using Protect and Fake Out. And if they do this, then Whimsicott can punish them with the move Encore, which will make them continuously use Protect or Fake Out or whatever move they last used for 3 turns. And that means that Protect is just going to have a really high chance to fail, giving you free turns to attack your opponent's other Pokemon with Trachion, or just go for the Rock Slide and hit both of your opponents just for that chance that Protect does fail, which is pretty high. Also, Prankster's Encore, Whimsicott's Prankster Encore, doesn't just stop there. Using Encore on any non-attack move pretty much turns your opponent's Pokemon into dead weight because they'll have no offensive pressure because they're forced to use the same move. So if they didn't use an attack, they just have to use whatever move they last used. So my favorite moves to Encore would probably be moves like Tailwind or Trick Room, Follow Me, among many more moves that just shut down your opponent's Pokemon if they don't use an attack. Now logically, since support moves and defensive moves like Protect don't work, trying to outpower Terracott would seem to be the only option not stopped by Terracott, since Terracott teams have a good amount of frail Pokemon and Whimsicott oftentimes has Encore. But this is a mistake, however, because Terracott can just respond with double Protect, and then they can switch into something that resists whatever attack you just used, and then Whimsicott can Encore that move, and then you're just using a not very effective attack continuously, which is really not going to do that much, even to Pokemon that are just naturally frail, because they're resisting, it's not going to do that much anyways. So let's go back and just look for some plays that could be used to answer Terracott tactics, and I'll explain why they're still like bad. Well, not necessarily bad, they're better than some plays, but they're still a bad position to be in. So if you decide to use a move if you decide not to use a move like Protect because you're fearing an Encore from the Whimsicott, then you still have to worry about the +4 Trachion on your opponent's side, which will do a lot of damage. In most cases, Trachion will just one-hit Pokemon. So then what you could do is you could try and switch out because you can't Protect, but if you do this, then that gives Trachion a free turn to do just to do damage because you're switching out and not doing anything. And that's not the kind of thing you want to do, because if you give Trachion a free turn of damage, you're going to lose at least half your health, even if you're coming into a Pokemon that resists the attack. If they don't resist the attack, even if it's just neutral, you're most likely just going to get 0-hit KO'd. And, let's see, so other things you could do, so say I do the double protect and then just encore a not very effective move and go for a switch. Well, you could switch out, but in that case, again, since most Terracott teams have like a lot of offensive Pokemon, then you're just gonna have to give that Pokemon a free turn of damage as well, which is still not good. And then there's if you use something like Trick Room or Tailwind and you decide to go for a switch, same situation, you're gonna have to take some free damage. So pretty much, if you stay in, you're screwed, and if you switch, you're still in a bad position. So either way, I win. Well, whoever's using Terracott in that situation wins, but I use Terracott from time to time. I have multiple teams. So anyways, in other words, there's pretty much no way you can really come out on top as long as Whimsicott's on the field. So Terracott, of course, like every strategy, is not invincible. The best answer to Terracott, in my personal opinion, since I've actually run Terracott quite a lot, I found that just taking out Whimsicott at the very beginning of the battle is really the best thing that your opponent can do, because of the fact that Whimsicott is just, they support the entire team. The whole team is dependent on their Encore, their Tailwind, just all their support just completely shuts down your opponent's defensive options, because if they go for something like Protect, then they have to continuously use that or give you a free turn to do damage. So you want to get rid of that Whimsicott as soon as possible. But unfortunately, there's no way to just completely stop Terracott from doing nothing at all to your team, because of just how good it is, like as a core and just as a strategy. Because most Whimsicott carry Focus Sash, which means that you're going to be forced to double target. Well, you could think, oh yeah, well I can just use my Kangaskhan to just use like Return or something, and then my other Pokemon can take care of the Tracheon. You could do that. Well, you could attempt to do that, but then again, you can just I would just go, and most players would probably just go for something like Double Protect, and then just to scout out if you're using Fake Out or not, and then if you do use Fake Out, then Encore that. If not, set up either a Tailwind or Encore the other Pokemon, while Tracheon just 0-hit KOs the opposing Kangaskhan, pretty much, and that's not going to work like for you to counter Terracott. So you're pretty much forced to double target, which means that the Tracheon is left alone, so they just get a free turn of damage. And with with their speed, with both of their speed, it's going to be very hard to outspeed Whimsicott with both of your Pokemon, which means they're just going to get off like something like Beat Up before you can even hit them, and then Tracheon's at +4, and they have a free turn just to start sweeping at your team. However, on the bright side, the reason that this is probably the best way to stop Terracott is because of the fact that without Whimsicott, their base speed is 108, but it still needs that Tailwind to outspeed threats like Landorus, Therian, and whatnot. And then also, without Whimsicott, your opponent, well, you can go for something like Protect, which you can't go for. Well, you can, but it would be bad because of Whimsicott's Encore before. So that's a good thing. But because you're giving just Tracheon, a free turn to just start doing damage, you're already going to be playing from behind. However, on the bright side, with just, some smart plays, just making safe plays, and you making good predictions while also preserving your win condition, you do have a solid chance of beating Terracott. So it's a very hard strategy to overcome, but it's not completely hopeless. So in terms of the spread that I use for Terracott, and just the spread, it's I put like the stats so that 196 speed and timid on Whimsicott, so that they can outspeed Tracheon by 1, so they can use Beat Up before Tracheon uses an attack, so they get the +4 boost like just from the start of the battle, basically. See, because Tracheon speed of 176 and then Whimsicott 177. So then after that, I just decided to go, because they're not using any attacks. Well, they have beat up, but beat up's more of a support option for Tracheon. It's not going to do very much damage at all. Like normally, it does like I think like around 2% per hit to the Tracheon. So it's like you're not going to be doing much damage to anything at all. Like the only real use for this attack outside of helping Tracheon is like breaking Focus Sash. So then after that, I just went full bulk with 236, well, as bulky as Whimsicott can be, 236 EVs into HP with 165 as the stat, and then 105 defense without any investment or anything. So I just decided to try and even that out to make them more mixed as far as bulk goes. So I just put 76 in special defense. So their bulk stats, their defensive stats are 165 HP, 105 defense, 105 special defense, which isn't it's not necessarily great, but it's survivable, and it's enough to use considering the support options Whimsicott has. Their somewhat mediocre defenses are kind of made up for by Encore, Beat Up, Tailwind, and whatnot. And then for Tracheon, I gave them Rock Slide with Close Combat, Earthquake, and Protect, with just Jolly Nature just to have as much speed as possible, with 252 into speed, 252 in attack, and 4 in HP. Just so they do as much damage as possible as fast as possible, because it's not that they have good the thing is they have good defensive stats. Actually, their base defensive stats are actually quite solid, with 91 HP, 90 defense, and 90 special defense as the base. However, because of their offensive typing of Rock Fight, they're not going to be able to take very much attacks because of how many super effective attacks there are against Tracheon. They have great offensive typing, but their defensive typing is really lacking. So I just went full offense. With the Lumberry, this helps against Pokemon like Thundurus, who try and like do things like Thunder Wave and whatnot. And it also helps for random just status in general. Like I remember one time I switched into Tracheon and I took an Ice Beam, and it froze them, but I didn't have to worry about that because I had the Lumberry on them. So I was like, okay, I'm cool. I can still come back. I just got unthawed anyways. And then also for things like Will-O-Wisp, which is somewhat common nowadays because of how physical the metagame is right now, with with Mega Kangaskhan and and like Double Edge, Mega Mence, and all of those super powerful like physical attackers just pretty much everywhere. So Will-O-Wisp is kind of common. So that's gonna be the end of this video. So I'll see you next time.